Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Siti Abidin. Today I will present to you my project entitled Ultrasound-Assisted Extraction Increases Pectin Yield from Watermelon, Citrullus, lanatus, Rind. Okay, as a background of study, okay, here the picture in the left is the ultrasonic laboratory process, the UAE machine that we use in the lab. So what is UAE? Ultrasound assisted extraction is a process that uses acoustic energy and solvents to extract target compounds from various plant matrices. And then ultrasound assisted extraction has been used to extract phenolic compounds, antioxidants and anthocyanins. And it has been reported before. These three compounds has been used to be extracted out from the plant matrices. And what is pectin actually? Pectin is the main component of polysaccharide, consists of alpha-1,4-linked D-galacturonic acid units. And as it is a polysaccharide, it is actually in the cell wall of a plant. And in industry, pectin has been widely applied as thickening, gelling, and emulsifying agents for jams, soft drinks, and fruit juice. Okay, it's actually located at the cell wall of a plant cell. So, as we know, cell wall is actually a very rigid structure. Thus, it requires more vigorous extraction to extract it. That's why we propose UAE. Okay, so what are the problem statement? Okay, the production of pectin is limited due to the limited sources. It is primarily extracted from citrus peels, apple pomace, and sugar beet pulp. Hence, watermelon rind is proposed. Okay, in the overseas, most of the pectin productions are mostly from citrus and apples. Most famous origin is from apple pomace. So here in Malaysia, we are lack of citrus as well as apples. Hence, we propose to use the watermelon rind. Okay, and the second problem is long extraction time. Other conventional extraction methods need longer extraction time compared to UAE. So as we go through the literature, we found out that UAE has been applied in several applications. So why not we use it for the pectin extractions? So what are the significance of study? First one is the new sources. By using watermelon rind, we could obtain other sources of pectin rather than just use from citrus and apple pomace. Secondly is improved methods. By using the UAE, it will improve the yield of pectins and reduce the extraction time. In this research, I will show you how much the time reduced. And then reduce waste and value added, help to reduce wastage of food materials and preserve the environment, as well as adding value to the watermelon rind. So what are the objectives? The first one is to determine the yield of watermelon rind pectin extracted using ultrasound-assisted extractions. And secondly, it's to determine the physical-chemical characteristic of watermelon rind pectin extracted using UAE. So here is the experimental design. We will start. We already started with the sample purchasing, sample preparations, where we just buy from the maturity index is 2. Why maturity index 2? Because we want to get as much as rind as possible. And then the rind will cut, wash in tap water and blanch for 95 degrees for 5 minutes, dry in hot air oven at 60 degrees for 24 hours. And then the dried rind then will pulverize using an electric grinder and pass through a 40mm mesh sieve. Okay, and then we'll proceed with UAE plus acid extraction. Okay, bear in mind it is actually UAE in combination with the acid extraction and acid extraction alone. The conventional method is the acid extraction. The one that has been used in industry is by using the sulfuric acid. Okay, and then we evaluate the physical-chemical properties by measuring the degree of esterification, ash content, equivalent weight, moisture content, mixed content, as well as anhydrouronic acid analysis. Okay, so let's go to the results and discussion. So, okay, here we have yield, degree of esterification, and hydrouronic acid, equivalent weight, methoxy content, as well as ash content, as well as moisture content. I'll explain to you one by one. So, as per yield, okay, the yield for UAE is 10.60%. And while acid is 9.87%, though numerically it seems like not much difference, but when we conduct the statistical analysis, there is significant difference between the yields. So it might due to the sonication could stimulate a breakdown of cell walls of watermelon rind and assist the washing out of the cell content by microjet formation and acoustic streaming. Okay, the next is the degree of esterification. For degree of esterification, UAE gave 44.41 value. So what is a degree of esterification value indicate? It is actually a value that indicate that whether the pectin is a low methoxyl content or high methoxyl content. Low methoxyl content doesn't mean it is a low value. No, it is actually indicate that it is suitable for food industry with shorter gelling time, while high methoxyl content requires sugar to gel. Okay, but it is actually, both are good, but the one that commonly used in industry is the high methoxyl content. Okay, and then the anhydrouronic acid value is higher in acid extraction, and then the content of anhydrouronic acid indicates that the purity of extracted pectin with the recommended value not less than 65% for pectin used as a food additive or for pharmaceutical purpose. Okay, in this value, we could see that both value doesn't reach the 65%, so perhaps there are more purification needed in the future. And then for the equivalent weight, the value of UAE is 479.88 gram per mole. So equivalent value between 250 and 250 indicates that the pectin requires calcium or magnesium to form gel. Above the value indicates that it needs sugar to form gel. Remember, I told you during the degree esterification, it doesn't need sugar, but then when we measure the equivalent weight, the value range above 350, so it shows that it requires some amount of sugar to gel. So for the methoxyl content, 4.86% indicates that methoxyl content is a crucial analysis to determine the gel strength, characteristic, and this actually, this methoxyl content is actually quite below than lemon pomace that was reported in the journals, which their methoxyl content is 10.25. Okay, and then for the but here we could see that the methoxyl content is much higher than the acid extractions. By applying UAE, the methoxyl content is much higher than acid extractions. And then for ash content, the ash content is 1.82% higher than acid extraction. And the moisture content is the most important parameter to ensure that it doesn't, the moisture content is not high, as if it's high, then it will attract microbial growth. So here the moisture content is just 2.17, which is better than acid extractions. So that's all my result. As a conclusion, UAE able to reduce the amount of acid used from 200 ml to 100 ml and reduce time from 24 hours incubation to 51 minutes only. Physicochemical characteristics such as degree of esterification, equivalent weight, methoxyl content, and ash content was observed higher in UAE than acid extraction, while anhydrouronic acid analysis and moisture content is significantly lower in UAE compared to acid extraction. So as a recommendation, further purification method should be conducted to remove impurities that are present in the watermelon rind pectin. So that's all from me. Thank you.